Jackson Radio Show.
So this guy writes an article that says, gives 28 reasons or so of why Donald Trump's going to have a bad 2018. So are you and I, we conservatives and the Republicans, are going to have a bad year. And I've already gone through part of it. And I'm telling you, if this is the logic that they use, it doesn't surprise me how they get their butts kicked and don't understand why. Here's the next one. Number 5, he says, this boastful, dishonest behavior of Donald Trump, the guy claimed in issue number 4, he says it's rubbed off on the Republican Party, and now the polls show that Democrats have a double-digit lead in generic polling on the question of who do you want to control Congress in November? And I love these polls. They'll ask somebody in a totally Republican district, who do you want to control Congress? And they go, I want the Democrats to control it. And they say, that's our barometer. We ask 1,000 people who they want it. They ask 1,000 Democrats, who do you want to control Congress? And the majority of them say, well, we think Democrats should. And they run away with their polling going, see, they want us to control. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Let me just, I'm going to tell you guys again, the Congress will be in control. And I know that historically it's not good news for Donald Trump. Theoretically, a new president coming in, freshman type guy, usually he loses in the midterm. And that's because he doesn't do anything. Democrats worship these polls and they forget. This is from these polls are built on presidents who do nothing, who by the time the midterms roll around, they're still trying to fumble through their way and figure out how to get on Air Force One. Donald Trump has been a successful year one president, and with everything that's brewing, because I'm telling you, the drip that comes out of this Mueller stuff is not going to be good for the left. But that's what he says. But here's what he says in number 6. Such a sizable lead, more than 10 months from the midterm, and in an economy that 66% rates so well, shows that the driving force in 2018 is all anti-Trump. Okay, let's run with that logic. Let's say that the driving force is anti-Trump. Okay? What do you think's going to happen as Trump, item by item, gets vindicated? Item by item. I love how they try to make stuff stick. Go back 2 weeks ago and ask me, what were they talking about with Trump? They had revitalized some prostitution thing, right? Who even knows? He's still a racist. None of it sticks. Remember, less than a week ago, it was all about the 13 Russian indictments and the FISA memo prior to that and whatever else. And now, what are we talking about? We're talking about gun control. And Trump has come out and said, you know what? I know what you want me to do, leftists. You think you've backed me into a corner on gun control. You've done nothing of the sort. I'm going to arm the schools. What? And what about DACA? Has anybody talked about DACA? May 5th was the date that was looming, right? We haven't even talked about it. The Democrats have completely taken their eye off the ball on DACA. Don't misunderstand me. Donald Trump hasn't. And because they've been backed in a corner on that. They moved over to the gun control issue because DACA failed. When have you ever heard of the Democrats jumping off of something like DACA where they've got Mexicans involved? Democrats thought they had Donald Trump by the short hairs, and they are finding they can move from issue to issue, and Trump just says, you know what? I'm going to give you common sense. Why does that work? Because even at the base level of this the proletariat, people go, I get it. Talk about guns in the black community and watch what people say. They understand it. Now he goes on. Of course, Trump is not on the ballot in 2018, so the Republican candidates will serve as Trump's surrogate punching bags, and the voters will take their wrath out on them. I don't even know why he made that a point, because it's essentially saying the same thing. He says, thus, so many House GOP retirements, thus so much money raised by so many Democrat candidates, thus so many impassioned female Democrat candidates running nationwide. So they believe that they're going to put their savior in feminism, that people are going to go, we didn't get Hillary, so we're going to get a bunch of females elected. Let me tell you something. It isn't going to happen. It's not going to happen. I don't know whether Republicans will run females, but the Republican candidates are going to win. There are no such thing as Republican punching bags if you support Donald Trump. And I go back to the question I asked earlier. Who would you rather have? Trump running with you during your time as a Republican, or would you rather have Barack Obama running with you if you were a Democrat? You don't like Barack Obama? What about Hillary Clinton? You don't like Hillary Clinton? What about Bernie Sanders? You don't like Bernie Sanders? What about Joe Biden? Pick me a Democrat that somebody tells me I want this person running with me as I face off against my challenger. Because if Donald Trump goes to any territory, anybody's election, anybody's race, campaign, he's going to light it on fire in a good way. En fuego. He goes on to say this. Clearly, the GOP's hope that the tax bill will spur even more economic growth and thus will mitigate the damage Trump himself is doing to their election chances is misguided. In fact, Trump's recent behavior is actually growing even more toxic and negative. Yeah, his recent behavior of what? Of going out and telling people in the trade. I mean, I love that CPAC. He says, look, I like Chairman Xi of China. I think he's an amazing guy. But we're going to address our trade issue with him. No question about it. And that's a guy that's telling you, I can like the guy, but we're going to do fair trade. And you haven't heard of China manipulating the currency any longer. You haven't heard of the cabal between the Chinese and the Russians getting together to take us off the dollar standard for oil. You haven't heard of these things. These were things being actively talked about during the time of Obama. But what's funny about it is he's telling you exactly what's going to happen. The tax bill will be the determining factor of why the Democrats lose. If there's any one thing that you'll be able to point to, it will be the tax bill. The fact that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of hundreds of thousands of people got their bonuses, okay, from the companies. That's one. Number two, millions of people saw that increase in their paychecks and went, wow. And they know where it came from. And they got April 15th to think about it going into the election of this year. And I'm telling you, they're going to be liking the fact that they got that little extra change. Democrats can dismiss this. They can pretend that it's no big deal. But it's a big deal. And that's why this guy's writing about it. And he's a so-called Republican from New York. Le Boulier or something like that. I don't even know his name. Here's number 10. The passion differential favors Democrats because female voters, minority voters, young voters, and independents are turning against Trump and GOP in droves. What planet does this guy live on? We've talked for the last, 3 weeks, poll after poll, after the State of the Union speech, 93% of Republicans, Trump said, knocked it out of the park. 43% of Democrats knocked it out of the park. 72% of independents. Now, forget the Republican, forget the independents. 43% of Democrats said, I like what I heard. Then on the heels of that, they started measuring the economy and things like this, tax